but this today, salvation would be reached for all the world. This the decision not to be insane and to accept myself as God himself, my Father and my source, created me. This the determination not to be asleep in dreams of death, while truth remains forever living in the joy of love. And this the choice to recognize the self whom God created as the Son he loves, and who remains my one identity. Father, your name is love, and so is mine. Such is the truth. And can the truth be changed by merely giving it another name? The name of fear is simply a mistake. Let me not be afraid of truth today. Will not be afraid of love. I will not be afraid of love today. Name of fear is simply a mistake. Let me not be afraid of truth today. Will not be afraid of love. I will not be afraid of love today. Name of fear is simply a mistake. I will not be afraid of love today. All right, lesson 282. I will not be afraid of love today. Lesson 282 of the workbook. I'll read through it, talk about it as usual. Paragraph 1. If I could realize but this today, salvation would be reached for all the world. This the decision not to be insane, and to accept myself as God himself, my Father and my source, created me. This the determination not to be asleep in dreams of death, while truth remains forever living in the joy of love. And this the choice to recognize the self whom God created as the Son he loves, and who remains my one identity. That's paragraph 1. Paragraph 2, it's a prayer. Father, your name is love, and so is mine. Such is the truth. And can the truth be changed by merely giving it another name? The name of fear is simply a mistake. Let me not be afraid of truth today. All right, we're going to read it one more time. We'll talk a little bit about the nuances, the deeper message, perhaps, the nitty-gritty. One thing to point out, obviously, is the change in the second paragraph. Suddenly it changes to talking about truth, and it mentions truth 3 times. And usually when Jesus mentions something 3 times, there's a special emphasis there. So we're going to talk about that in a second. Why this sudden shift to using the word truth. All right, here we go. Paragraph 1. If I could realize but this today, salvation would be reached for all the world. Okay, let's start with the lesson is, I will not be afraid of love today. Yesterday's lesson, by the way, lesson 281, is I can be hurt by nothing but my thoughts. And then right before that was, what is the Holy Spirit? Just to remind us, okay? And then I will not be afraid of love today. Well, the first thing we could ask is, why would anyone be afraid of love? Don't we all? Isn't love what we all want? Why would there be any fear of love? All right, so that's a very important basic question to start with. Okay, if I could realize but this today, salvation would be reached for all the world. Right? If I could realize, what does realize here mean? Realize means if I could achieve this today, right? If I could achieve only this today, just this, right? Not being afraid of love, salvation would be reached for all the world. It's a very strong statement, right? Salvation would be reached for everyone through my doing that, right? So remember that there's only one Son, and we're all it. If one Son changes his mind or his or her mind, they do it for everyone, right? Because everyone is that one Son. Now, how this works is a bit of a mystery, right? But don't forget that we're all one, right? So if one brother or if one son who really is not separate from the whole realizes that they are not separate from the whole, and there's nothing to fear, because if there's no separation, then there's no fear necessary, then everyone goes home, right? In that realization. This, the decision not to be insane and to accept myself as God himself, my Father and my source. We saw this language, right, in the last lessons. Created me. Right? Where did we see source? We saw source just recently. Where was it talking about source? I forget. Maybe someone can remind us. All right, but God as my source, my creator, my father in that sense, because if there's a son, there has to be a father. And if I accept myself as God created me, what does that mean? Well, if God is only love, as Jesus proclaims, as Jesus tells us, if God is only love, then we are only love. And so to accept myself as God created me means to accept myself as love. And Jesus is going to talk about that in a second. And if there's only love, and if I am love, if God is love, then fear really does not exist. So I do not need to be afraid of love. But why would I be afraid of love? Let's go on. We'll talk about this, okay? This, the determination not to be asleep in dreams of death, while truth remains forever living in the joy of love. And this, the choice to recognize the self whom God created as the Son he loves and who remains my one identity. So the Son that God loves, the Son that God created, is my only identity, right? That is my self. That is my true self. And that is God's true self. That self is not different than God's self either. And he does bring in truth here, right? Well, truth remains forever living in the joy of love. Why would I want to be asleep in dreams of death, which is really the illusion of separation, when I could be awake in the truth, which is the joy of love? It's a beautiful phrase, the joy of love. And love and joy, as we were saying in a recent video, really go hand in hand, right? What is love? What is the opposite of love but fear? And what is the opposite of joy but suffering? Remember that great phrase, love is not suffering, right? In love there is no fear, and in love there is no suffering. And what is a state free of suffering but joy? So love is is a joy, is eternal joy, right? Bliss, that's what the Hindus call ananda, is bliss, eternal bliss. And we have a word in English, bless, right? Bliss and bless, blessedness, eternal blissfulness, eternal blessedness. It's an interesting, be interesting to look at those two words, bliss and bless. And this is a choice to recognize the self whom God created as the Son He loves and who remains my one identity. Right? So, but why would we be afraid? Well, let's keep reading. So the second paragraph is the prayer to God the Father. It's all in italics. Father, your name is love, and so is mine. So remember that we were talking about what is God's name. We said, well, what is the name of God? And Jesus even asked that. What is the name? What is the name of God? It didn't really give us an answer. I think this was recently. Right? What is the name of God? I forget where that was. But what is the name of God? Father, your name is love, and so is mine. So love is the name. That does not mean love in reality is just a word, it's a word that's useful for us because we think in terms of love. We know what love is on some level. We understand what love is. But the reality of love goes beyond whatever we can name or conceive, goes beyond all names and forms, all conception. But the one word that maybe fits the best is love, right? So Father, the name of God is love. And so is mine, right? That's my true identity. That's God's true identity. That's God's true self. That's my true self. Such is the truth. And can the truth be changed by merely giving it another name? No, right? That's a rhetorical question. You can call love any name you want, right? You can call it anything you want. You can call it poo-poo if you want, right? It doesn't change the reality. It's like what Shakespeare said, a rose by any other name is still a rose, right? You know that song by, what's her name? Outcast, right? Roses really smell like poo-poo. Sorry, I'm just thinking aloud here and making crazy connections. But a rose by any other name is still a rose. Love by any other name is still love. God by any other name is still God. These are just words. These are pointing to an experience, to a reality that goes beyond the words and goes beyond the concepts. You cannot change truth. You cannot change the reality. The reality is and was and shall always be, and try as you might to run and hide, but you cannot run and hide, and that's not a threat, that's a promise, and that's a good promise, right? That love is still waiting for you. Love is still there. Love has never changed. Let me say that someone sent me an article putting down the idea that love wins. Talking about the situation, the political situation that we're facing, especially in the United States, but it's the whole world. And people say, well, love wins. Love always wins, right? And this guy was saying, well, love does not win if you don't do anything about it, right? If you got to do something, you got to put love in action to make the change. And he's right about that. But the way that the Course would put it is love won. Right? Not that love wins, but love won. But it wouldn't even say love won. It would say love is one, right? O-N-E, not W-O-O-N, but O-N-E. Love love has never changed. So there's really nothing to fear. This political landscape that we're in, there really is nothing to fear. Who was it that said, FDR, that said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And fear itself is nothing to fear either, because fear is nothing. So, love is love is love is love. Love has never changed. Love could never change. Love cannot be attacked. And we can think of God. God's name is love. God's essence is love. And because God's name and essence is love, God's creation, which is all of us, can only be that as well. And if we think that we can be hurt, like the lesson 281, the lesson before, if we think that we can be hurt, or if we go into the fear and we take the fear seriously, then on some level we will experience suffering, right? Because we're doing that. But that's what we're doing is making a choice for something that is unreal, right? And we do not have to do that. That's optional. That's a choice we do not have to make. The name of fear is simply a mistake, right? And can the truth be changed by merely giving it another name? So what is Jesus saying there? He's saying we might think, in our madness, we might think that love is fearful. We might think that love is fear. We might think that if I let go of my ego, I will cease to be, and I will be no more, and it, that's it. No more me. I'm gone. And that's really what the ego wants us to think, wants us to believe, is that if we let go of the ego, there's nothing, right? Or who knows, right? And I think that's where we get to as we near the end of this process with the Course and with the spiritual awakening, is we're going to come to that point where we're faced with that challenge, which is, well, if I take the leap of faith off of the cliff, so to speak, right? How do I know I'm not going to die? How do I know I will fly, right, and not die? I don't know until I take that leap of faith. I really do not know. But that's where the Course comes in to assure us that you will fly, right? You think you're going to die, but no, you. There's really nothing to fear. Absolutely nothing to fear. It's all in your mind, right? It's all what you're choosing. Jesus is very clearly giving us the roadmap to be free of fear, finally free of fear, and finally rest in love.
I will be again.
All right, bud, go ahead. So, let me not be afraid of truth today. So why does Jesus change from love to truth? Well, because he's saying that the truth is the truth is the truth as well, right? The ego and fear, which is of the ego, which is the ego thought system, is based in fear, is not true. It's completely false. It does not even exist.
It's like they're trying to make it up.
Yep, that's right, bud. So I don't know, is this helping? I hope it is. I will not be afraid of love today. Let me not be afraid of truth today. Know the truth, and the truth shall set you free, as Jesus said in the Gospels. But we are afraid of the truth, and we are afraid of love. when it comes down to it. And how do we know that? Because, as I've said before, when push comes to shove, love gets a shove, right? We forget about love. Love flies out the window because we get back into our ego, and we forget about love, and we basically deny love. And this course is just a reminder, a continual reminder of what is true, and it's a process for all of us, right? Because we do have resistance, but I hope and I trust that you're seeing how the course does make sense, and how the course does work, and how the course does bear fruit. So keep on keeping on. Keep on shining your light. I shall do the same. Father, your name is love, and so is mine. Such is the truth. And can the truth be changed by merely giving it another name? The name of fear is simply a mistake. Let me not be afraid of truth today. Will not be afraid of love. I will not be afraid of love today. The name of fear is simply a mistake. Let me not be afraid of love today. Father, your name is love, and so is mine. Name of fear is simply a mistake. Let me not be afraid of love today. Will not be afraid of love. I will not be afraid of love today. Will not be afraid of love. I will not be afraid of love today. All right. See you very soon. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.